She talks. She listens. She cares. She's Joyce Oglesby. In today's ever-changing world, Joyce takes on the hottest issues. She fights for what's right in America.
I wanna leave a legacy. How will they remember me?
Just Ask Joyce is brought to you by Guaranteed Total Construction, Window World, Nan's and Crafts Florists, Squire Boone Caverns, and About Face Spa and Salon. Now, just ask Joyce.
Leave that kind of legacy.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm Joyce Oglesby for Family Life Fix-It Pro, getting you fit for life and love. An exciting show today. I'm so happy and thrilled to introduce you to someone you might already know if you've listened to me for years on the radio, but today you get to see him live and in person, Dr. Dennis E. Hensley, whom many of you will know is my mentor. He has helped me get started in my writing career, but now you're going to know the secret to his success. And I can tell you, everyone has a story. I don't know what yours is, but you have one. And there is an art to putting it out in written form. And Dr. Dennis Hensley has captured his secrets in a book. Now, he's written many books, some 60 plus books, all right? And many writing books, I think maybe 9 or 10 just on writing. But this is his latest book on writing, and it is all for you today. Do not miss it. He is the director of the professional writing major at Taylor University, and he's here all the way from Upland, Indiana, just for you today. And then later in the show, we're going to talk about forgiving versus forgetting. Some of us forgive, but we just can't seem to forget. Well, does it really take if you don't forget, all right? So we're going to talk about that because that's an email that we got from a listener, and I appreciate your comments. Your phone calls, many of you have already contacted me via email, and even some of you phone call, 502-493, of course, 5110. So make sure that you contact me, justaskjoyce@gmail.com. The information will be up on the screen later in the show, but I don't want to waste a single moment with Dr. Hensley. And if you hear me call him Doc, it's because affectionately, that's who he is to everyone. And so if you're a friend to Doc, that's what you get to call him. Welcome, Doc, to the show. It's so good to have you here.
Been looking forward to this, Joyce. Really have.
All right, so finding success with your dream writing projects. Everybody, as I said, has a story. And of course, you know, I've put mine out there, but you are an instrument behind my writing success, and you're a big part of the reason why I'm here today. I just want you to know that. But you're an incredible encourager, and I love it when I pick up one of your books because I think that I know Doc inside and out, and then when I read one of your books, I find out even more about you. So, all right, so tell us, you know, why? Why would you write this? Because there's so much more in here than about just writing your dream story. You talk about time management and goal setting and all kinds of aspects of life. So why would you put that in this book?
We're talking about a 21st century writer now, and that's a very different situation. 20 years ago, when I started the program in professional writing at Taylor University, there was no email exhaustive outreach the way it is now. There was no online publishing. There were no e-books. All the world of publishing has changed. So what's happening today is that many people are having more access to the public as writers. But there's a big difference between being printed and being published. And a lot of people say, well, I just want to put something out there. I think my readers will like it. And then they're later embarrassed by the fact that they didn't have it quality edited. They didn't have it proofread the way it should have been. The format wasn't exactly the way it should be. So my job as a contemporary teacher of writing, whether I'm using the writing book that you just showed or in my classroom or at a workshop, is to tell people we still need good format. We need grammar. We need punctuation to be correct. We need style to be strong. We need good stories that can impact people, tight writing. So what I've tried to do in the new book is to combine all of those aspects and put it together so that people know that, all right, I'm going to be an entrepreneurial writer. I have to be independent. There are many venues and opportunities available to me, but then it also puts the aegis on me, well, I've got to promote my book, and I've got to know how to find enough time to write it well, and I've got to be able to sell the book and put it out there and promote it, and understand that I've got to have a message for my audience and respond to my audience. So it's a very different world today in the 21st century world of writing than it was even 20 years ago.
It is. All right. And I know from firsthand experience that writing it can be an insurmountable task, overwhelming at times. But you take us through, in this book, you take us through different methods of writing, and one that caught my attention was your slice and dice method. Talk to us about that.
Well, the situation is many people say, oh, to sit down and write a 300-page manuscript, I think I'll just die. I can't do that sort of thing. And I say, I know, that's very, overwhelmingly seem. So what I tell people is, maybe you want to write a nonfiction book. Why don't you sit down and say, all right, what do I want my audience to know? What do I want to share? So let's say that you're going to write a book of teaching aspects on mentoring to men or mentoring to women. So you might put down, well, here's an article I could do on leadership, and here's an article I could do on role modeling, and you go down, and those could be the individual chapters of your book. So now you've accomplished something major. You've got the outline all done.
Right.
Now you go down and write one as an article, and I say to people, dice it up, slice it up. Don't think of writing 300 pages. Just do the one chapter as an article. Then put it out. It might be part of your blog. It might be a freelance article for a magazine. It might be something you could do in your local newspaper. This gives you exposure in that area as an expertise person, but it also gives you visibility, and it might even give you some cash flow. And at the same time that you're getting this kind of exposure, you've got chapter 1 done. So even if it took you 30 months, you only did one a month, you would be writing your book as you dice it up into small parts. So it's the old joke, can you eat a cow? Yeah, one bite at a time I can, but I can't eat a cow today. So slice it up into 30 different parts, write articles, and combine those, and that becomes your book.
I told you were going to love him, didn't I? All right. Well, as you well know, I've kind of stuck with self-help nonfiction writing until my last book, and I did a 700-page novel, Grandma's Jewels and the Legacy Behind Them. But one aspect in this book, you talk about cross-pollination. So talk to us about that.
All right. I tell people, study writing. Don't worry about saying, oh, I want to write the great American novel, or I only want to do nonfiction writing. If you study the craft of writing and really learn it, a good title is a good title. A good lead is a good lead. Good dialogue is good dialogue. So I say that you can cross-pollinate. They'll work in fiction or in nonfiction. So when I tell my students, I want you to go out and I want you to be a reporter. I want you to interview fire chiefs, and I want you to interview military people, and I want you to interview school teachers and housewives. They go and do these stories, but they don't realize that at the same time they're developing their ear. How do these people talk? What phrases do they use? What vocabulary do they choose? Then when they go to write fiction, they realize, oh, I know how to go and talk to those people so that my characters ring true. So as they're doing nonfiction writing, they're actually preparing their ear for the dialogue and the characterization that they would put into fiction. So I tell people, if you will delve into the basics, the mechanics, I call, of writing, you'll really thrive because it'll work in both arenas.
You make it sound so easy, you know that, don't
Well,
you?
the practice makes perfect.
Yeah, well, you have 60-some books and thousands of articles to prove that. But, one of the key lessons found in your book, Finding Success with Your Dream Writing Projects, you talk about the aspect of closure. Now, why is that so important?
Well, too many people who are would-be writers, they play at it. They join a writer's club and they'll go and they'll write act 1 of a play and never finish it. Or they'll write the first page of a short story and never finish it. And then they'll say, oh, well, I've got 2 chapters of a novel and never finish it. And I don't see these people accomplishing anything. You're a writer when you finish something, you submit it, and it gets published, and you impact a readership. So I tell people, finish something. Go for closure. Even if it's a devotion, a small thing, get it out there. If it's a book review, fine, start that. Start small, but start. Get it done and finish it. And when you have closure and you have identity as a published writer, then you think, okay, this is career advancement. So rather than dabble and just practice a little bit at something like that, stay on something and it'll have an impact for your readership, and that's what will advance your career. So when people come to me and say, what's the first thing I should do? Well, finish what you've started. Don't just keep playing at too many different things. It just diverses you into areas where you have nothing finished.
All right, well, I think a lot of people, and I know it was one of my problems, I'll have to have you back for another show about this one though, is that, you know, we're afraid of rejection or failure, and but you will get people on the right track if they just read this book. Now, I want to talk to you about something that struck me really interesting about you, is that you are so humorous in your writing, you know, and you openly admitted that you struggle with that. Right. And that was such a shock to me, Doc. I'll just have to tell you, because I'm like, everything's comfortable for Doc about writing, isn't it? What?
Well, there's an old line in vaudeville, dying's easy, comedy's hard. And it is true, to make people really laugh, you have to have timing, you have to have surprise, you have to have elements that they weren't seeing. It's almost sleight of hand, with almost like a magician working that way. So when I work on humor, I try to think, okay, what is the reader not expecting but seems logical? What will surprise the reader? And I will read several things out loud. I'll try things. I'll bounce them off my wife. I'll ask my son, my daughter, you know, do you think this is funny? Some of my students too. Many times I can make myself laugh, and I'll think, okay, now I've really accomplished something, because I'm a really hard audience of that. But there are techniques, the reversals and the surprises, and even slapstick things that you do. So there are things you can work in comedy, but even then you've got to try very, very hard, because usually the things that you work too hard at aren't funny, and it's the surprises. So I try to give my characters a sense of humor and put them in real life situations, because usually real life's funnier than a joke if you really pay attention to it all the time. So one of the things to writing comedy is just to pay attention, like, oh, that's funny, I don't want to forget to write that down, or that's amazing how that word turned around and changed something. So a lot of times paying attention helps you increase your comedy writing too.
All right. Well, I will say this, that one of our early mentoring moments, you told me, because I know I went to a writing seminar that you had encouraged me to go to, and you said, Joyce, don't worry about feedback, because I took it as criticism, and I'll never forget, you said, don't take it personally. Right. It's going to help you grow as a writer. And you were so true. You were spot on.
Well, I tell people, look at the manuscript. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about it. And we develop what I call the turtle shell hide. When you can listen to somebody and not take offense at it, you can grow very, very quickly. And I think you were one of those good students who said, no, I'm thirsty for this knowledge. If it's wrong, tell me. And people will say, all right, I won't do it wrong the next time. I just didn't know any better. So I think that's the best kind of student you can have.
You're amazing. We'll have Doc back. And can you stick around to the end of the show?
Sure.
All right. Guys, we're going to rush to a quick break. We'll be back, and I'm going to tell you about these amazing flowers. I know it caught your attention, but don't go away. We'll be back.
You're watching Just Ask Joyce, where real life and family values connect. Just Ask Joyce is brought to you by Guaranteed Total Construction, Window World, Nans and Crafts Florists, Squire Boone Caverns, and About Face Spa and Salon.
And welcome back to Just Ask Joyce. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I know you've been starstruck by these beautiful flowers. Of course, Nans and Craft provides these. And of course, it's Derby time in Kentuckiana. You cannot help but love this season in the Kentuckiana area. But these are absolutely gorgeous. They are a festive Derby arrangement from Nans and Craft, consisting of roses and of course the stargazer lilies. Of course, the official flowers of the Kentucky Derby and the Kentucky Oaks, respectively. And thank you, Nans and Craft, for such a beautiful array of flowers. And I'm going to send these home to Doc Hensley's wife. So I'm going to make him a hero today, I can tell you. All right, we have an email from our Window World email bag today, and it is from Cindy in Jeffersonville. My husband cheated on me 5 years ago. Obviously, I've forgiven him, but I can't seem to forget it happened. When I do remember, it temporarily puts the barrier between us again until I can move on. This past time was the worst because he feels we will never be able to move on. Please help. All right, so Cindy in Jeffersonville, I'm going to ask you this. Have you really forgiven? Now let me just show you a little illustration, if you will allow me here. Because here we are on the heels of Easter, all right? And so we're all familiar with the forgiveness idea of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. So let me just tell you how he does it compared to how we do it, all right? Because we know that, of course, Jesus Christ, you know, when he forgives us, he totally wipes away our sin. It is gone. It is just gone. On this dry erase board, you know, I mean, there you go. Bam, it's gone. But let me tell you how we as humans do this. You know, we kind of play at forgiveness, don't we? We say we forgive, but there's a little left over. And that is where our memory comes in. So have you really forgiven all the way? Because that forgetting has not been easy, has it? And obviously, it isn't as easy to forget. The thing is, memory is not your enemy. You have to remember that. God gave us a memory for a reason. If we didn't have a memory, we wouldn't remember any of the good times that we have. And then, you know, of course, what do we do as humans anyway? We kind of grab on to those negative things. That's just human nature. That's what we do. But our memory is not our enemy. You are fighting with an enemy, but it is not your memory. Now, what I want you to do, Cindy, when you have one of these bad memories creep up, and that's what's happening, I want you to replace it immediately with a good one. You know, in my books, I talk about my marriage books, and you should pick those up, but I talk about remember when moments. Those remember when moments is what every couple should be latching on to. Those are the good times that you have. You know, when you take trips together and you make wonderful family memories together, or you just have a really romantic evening and it's like none other. They're fireworks. Those are the kind of memories that I want you to replace it with whenever one of these bad memories crop up. You must do that if you're going to step out of this vicious cycle that you have because of his affair. It wasn't a pleasant experience, I know, but look, if you're going to move on, and if you will, you know, practice like Christ does, where the slate is completely clean. If you will do that, you are going to experience a marriage like you've never had before. I promise you that. And you and I can work on that more, of course. You know, guys, you can write me justaskjoyce@gmail.com, justaskjoyce@gmail.com. I'm going to run to another quick break. When we get back, we'll revisit this just another moment. Don't go away. Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, I'm Joyce Oglesby, Family Life Fix-It Pro, and that's what I love to do best. I love to fix your broken relationships, but I can't unless you contact me, so make sure that you do just that. The information will be on the screen. You can jot it down. You can call me. You can write me. We'll work through your situation together. I want to go back to Cindy in Jeffersonville because I want to give you this quote for the day, Cindy, and I think it'll start making sense to you when I say this. Forgiving is important. Forgetting doesn't happen without it. And so many of people that I work with try desperately to forget. And again, God gives us a memory on purpose. He tells us, you know, those are the life lessons we're going to pull from so that we don't go back and make the same mistakes again. And whatever got you and your husband to that difficult situation of an affair that now you're trying to get over the bumps of, there were things, obstacles that got it to that point. So remember those things and let's go back and fix it. And if you need my help again, I'm happy to help you. That's going to wrap up this segment. I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to Doc Hensley again. I know you were entertained. I knew you would be. That's why I invited him on the show. But we'll come back and revisit with him just for a moment after this quick break. Don't go away. Thank you so much for being with us on the Just Ask Joyce show, where real life and family values connect. And I certainly appreciate my guest driving all the way, actually from Fort Wayne, but you, of course, you're still instructing there at Taylor University up in Upland, right, Indiana. All right, Doc. I have to ask you, did I make you a hero just saying that you're going to take these home to Rose?
Right.
Of course, and look how many roses she has. Sure. Rose is going to love these roses and the lilies. But, all right, so you've written some, 9 or 10 writing books in the past. All right, so why this one? Why is this different? I know it's got a lot of your secrets in it. I've read it.
Well, First of all, it is very contemporary. It's all 21st century material. So it deals with the market that we're talking about today with ebooks and online publishing. Second of all, it shows people simple step-by-step ways in which they can enter the world of publishing so that they can understand, how do I write so that I communicate? How do I find what my audience is? How do I find time to write? And then what do I do once I have written? So it's a very processed, step-by-step sort of procedure that people don't have to be intimidated by. They can follow it along. And also it makes use of whatever technology they have available to them and then other expanding markets that are out there. So the world is ready for stories. They're ready for ministry, that people can impact them. The fact of the matter is, if we can do it right and communicate with them, they are really ready to receive that. And I tell people, let me show you the step-by-step process, and whatever you consider success, ministry or biography or fiction, there are techniques in here for you to do it, and it's all step-by-step.
Everyone will benefit. So how can they get them? Amazon?
Amazon
bookstores?
Or local bookstores. They can check there. And my own website, dochensley.com. They can find out there.
You're such a great guest. Of course, you know how important you are in my life.
Well,
and my
that.
husband, of course, appreciates all that you've done for me. You've made these books possible for me. And, of course, the Today's Woman, Today's Family magazine articles, you know, as you well know that, you know, you kind of keep me in check, don't you? All right, thank you so much, guys, for joining us today for the Just Ask Joyce show. Remember that you can contact me, justaskjoyce@gmail.com. Visit my website, check out what I have there for you, resources to sharpen your skills as a spouse, as a parent, as part of a family. And in the meantime, I'm in battle for his cause.